Yeah, okay. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press and the media. We've just concluded a highly successful 62nd meeting of the authority of the OECS. And I just want to advise the media that there were a number of critical issues considered and deliberated on by heads during this meeting. They included approval of a new structure and staffing of the OECS Commission. And let me say that the new structure that has been approved is in fact a less costly structure than what existed before, but takes into account the current challenges that we face both in the fiscal environment as well as challenges of development that now need to be addressed. We looked at also the question of financial sustainability of the Commission as well as the pharmaceuticals procurement program of the OECS, which currently brings savings of approximately 30% on medicines procured by member states of the OECS. So the authority gave some very clear approvals and guidelines for the tightening up of the operations of that service so that it can be even more efficient and deliver better in the future. Of critical importance was an update on the status of application for membership by St. Martin and the situation with Guadeloupe, and a program proposed by Martinique for its deeper integration into the OECS. Since the accession of Martinique to associate membership of the OECS, they've played a very dynamic role, very actively engaged in all of the councils of ministers, and they have now made a number of proposals with respect to ways in which Martinique can continue to play that dynamic role, but in a more structured manner. We looked at issues relating to trade and the convening of the assembly of the OECS, which should be held soon, early in the new year. And finally, heads gave their nod of approval to a proposed youth strategy for the OECS that is currently being shaped with the engagement of young people themselves across the OECS. And I would urge journalists to stay tuned on this one because it's going to be a very exciting and massive social media campaign to get young people in the OECS to crowdsource their own ideas of the things that they would like to see put in place for their own advancement. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just want to briefly commend the government and people of the government and people may have been under stress in their recovery efforts. The resilience of the people is one which we would want to see emulated elsewhere within the region. Again, equally, the leadership of the long-serving Prime Minister of Grenada has helped us through in a very efficient way what has been a very varied agenda list of items that touch on the practical lives of every citizen within the OECS. And so this, for me, has been very informative, very instructive as a new head, and I've learned much in terms of where we're at in the integration process, but more importantly, how St. Kitts and Nevis can play an even greater role in advancing some of the policy initiatives which we discuss and which we approve today. Thank you.
Members of the press. Yes. Members of the press, and of course, my colleague, Prime Minister here, and the Director General. Let me say, as one who has been in the vineyard at this level for quite a considerable time, This has been one of the better meetings that I've had the opportunity to be part of. From a number of standpoints. First of all, let me say that I'm extremely happy to be back in Dominica at this time, and I believe that this meeting was held here primarily to demonstrate and to reinforce the point of the camaraderie and the relationship and of course the closeness of that the OECS family. Knowing that Dominica was under stress given the problems that you went through, we felt it was necessary to be here as heads to demonstrate that that understanding of the strong relationship among our countries in the region. I want to add to the fact that I think we have the leadership of the OECS at this time, the Secretariat, has been very understanding of the financial situation of our states at this time, and many initiatives was taken to have a number of critical issues discussed in tangible ways without increasing serious costs. We use the technology, which has been one of the things we are trying to get in all our countries to understand. The need to reduce the size of the bureaucracy and reduce the size of expenditure within the public service, wasting resources, a lot of paperwork when you should use the technology. We should be doing from country to country. We need to continue to do so. And I thought that what the Director General has done with some of the substantive discussion, having presentation and video link, we did not minimize the extent of the results that we have got from those meetings. Is a clear demonstration that we need to do a lot more in our individual countries in those areas. I think another major issue is the question of the attempt to come up with a uniform single health space. Because, colleagues, that's so crucial for us. A number of issues that are confronting our region at this time that we are faced with. And the only way we'll be able to confront and deal with this effectively, given the tremendous amount of resources required to satisfy our health needs in the region, is for us to develop one uniform health space. And especially in light of the fact that we have this freedom of movement issue, there's no way you'll be able to stop the spread of any serious problems in the region and health. If we do not have that uniform health policy and health initiative. So I think that coming up with that policy and agreeing that we're going to unify our work in that area, it would also help to optimize the resources we have, because we may be duplicating in many ways a lot of services and with the limited resources. For example, the question of a dialysis unit, it is very difficult for each country. I have the challenge in Grenada at this time. Very difficult for us to meet the dialysis needs of the population at this time in Grenada. But maybe if we have one serious unit in one country and we all service it and pay towards that, the upkeep of that unit, we'll have the best unit, and that all our people who have the need for the service will get that optimal service. I also want to point out that we are living here. I was always concerned of the fact that next week many of us leave here to go to the Commonwealth meeting where there is a good possibility that one of our citizens in our region can emerge as Secretary General. And it was my feeling that we can in fact increase that possibility if we send a message that we unify our efforts around one candidate. It was agreed among the heads that given that the two possible candidates at this time OECS citizens, that the leadership of both of the countries involved will meet, and that by the time we leave here next week, we'll be going to the common meeting with one recommendation coming from the Caribbean region. We believe that is absolutely necessary because it makes no sense going there with two candidates, reducing the possibility and having ourselves eclipsed because of the lack of unified effort and around a particular candidate. So I'm very heartened. That's when I say that we are leaving this meeting feeling happier. Somebody expressed a while ago, Prime Minister, you're looking very happy. That was one of the reasons that I'm leaving happy, because I noticed so many good things have occurred in this particular meeting. We also had a very good paper presented on a water policy for the entire OECS. As you know, this is a challenging issue for the region as a whole. We agree to work together on ensuring that we can come up with such a uniform policy as far as water resources are concerned. And there also the issue of, we are very much aware that our maritime space is far bigger than our land space, and there are tremendous possibilities for our region, whether it's in the area of health, whether it's in the area of our economy, whether it's in the area of our fishing industry as a whole, food security. We need to have a serious, uniform maritime research strategy. And again, what I consider to be a very informed paper was presented to us, and I think there were general understanding and agreement on the way forward as far as that is concerned. And finally, I don't want to say this. The heads agreed that I presented a short report on the initiative that the region had with respect to the way forward for West Indies cricket. I brought them up to date on the fact that I was being asked to lead that attempt to come up with a new governance structure for West Indies cricket, initiated by heads of course, in consultation and relationship with the West Indies Cricket Board. We had such a meeting a few months ago in Grenada with all the stakeholders, including the West Indies Cricket Board. And many of our legends who served us well, they were part of that discussion, the business community, and all stakeholders. And we agreed to come up with a distinguished group of Caribbean citizens who would look at the structure of West Indies cricket, look at reports that were presented before on the way forward for West Indies cricket, the Patterson report, the Wilkins report, and other reports. And we will ask them to come up with some recommendation on the way forward for West Indies cricket. After much consultation and discussions, it was agreed that we will accept and effect the decision of that distinguished panel of Caribbean citizens. The report has now been presented, and as heads, we are extremely busy with activities at our door every single minute and every hour of the day in our individual countries. But recognizing the value and importance of cricket and sports to the region as a whole and to our people, we've decided that we will sacrifice the time we did not even have to ensure that we can, in fact, and move forward, get the West Indies cricket back to a point where we can start going up the ladder once again. So it was a bit disheartening to hear the president of the West Indies Cricket Board indicating in a recent public statement, one, that the board of directors was so busy and they're professional people. I thought it was a very strange comment. Here you have regional leaders who are in their own right successful professionals, most all of them are, and also extremely busy in their own right with their responsibilities. And then president of the board is saying that his board directors are too busy. I thought it's extremely pleased. And in addition, the Secretary General of CARICOM, on my recommendation, wrote the president indicating there was need for urgent meeting. Not necessarily, we weren't saying what we do with the report, Let us meet to discuss the report. It was in the press yesterday. His letter to this from the Secretary General was placed in the press. We're asked to guess who did it. And not only that, a reply saying that they were too busy and they could not meet with the leaders, and indicating that they will have a meeting in St. Lucia on the 12th of December, and they're inviting us to come to that meeting. It is quite amazing, the level of disrespect, the level of lack of understanding of the importance of this is quite frightening. And I don't think I should hold back any words. I expect the president of the Students Credit Board to respect the leadership of the Caribbean, the leadership of the people of the region, and to give effect to an urgent meeting. We expect no less. And I hope and pray what we saw was a rush of blood and not his real intention. So I expect to see a meeting very, very soon between the leadership, and we are waiting for that answer to meet quickly to move cricket forward in the region. So friends, let me thank you all on behalf of all the leaders of the OECS for what I consider to be an extremely important meeting. And I do want to say the Minister of St. Kitts, he started us all on the right footing with what I consider one of the most informed and lifting presentation. And he challenged us on a number of critical issues, some of which we avoided before. But I think he, being new, he's in a position to not be afraid to call a spade a spade. Maybe when he reach my stage, he might become a little less but I think it's necessary, and I really thought that he started us off on a right footing. But I do want to make the point to thank the Secretary, the Director General, on his, what I consider is in his leadership, and the staff who have supported him. And I'm proud to say that in my third stint as OECS chairman, I consider this probably the best one. Thank you all. Oh yes, my friend from Martinique, who gave us really was a very strong participant in our meeting, and wanted to make a comment before we close. Colin?
Yes, just to say how much we appreciated our welcoming reception and our work, serious work in this session, in this summit. We presented different sectors in which we are going to develop our cooperation so we can be integrated into the OECS. I can mention some which are very important. Health is very important because in this domain, you cannot build a society where people are productive and happy if you don't give health to the people. And in this region, if one country is sick, is ill, the next very soon will become ill, because the virus don't know about the frontier. They just cross over all the time. So we have to work together to give good health to the population. And this is an asset very important also for tourism, because tourists don't come in places where you have epidemics. Two, on the same question of health, we have the question of cancer, for example. New technologies are being developed on cancer, and it is possible to detect very early the development of a cancer, and it is much easier to cure it at that time by using the technology of cyclotron. But this is very expensive, and we cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone, and it is necessary to have a large market to do that. So Martinique is engaging in establishing a cyclotron, and Martinique count a lot on the rest of the Caribbean, the Eastern Caribbean, to participate in this endeavor, because it will not be economical to do it for the population of Martinique alone. So we already set a company, and we are opening this company with the possibility for other countries in the Caribbean to participate. Health is one. Climate change is one other sector which is very important. As you might know, we already organized a conference in Martinique in May where something like 20 head of state of the Caribbean participated, and where the president of France came, and we could prepare in Martinique the alliance and the message that the Caribbean has to pronounce, to claim in the conference in Paris in November. And our idea is to continue this work after the conference to control the climate risk in the Caribbean. Training is very important, and I will not extend myself on that. Transport, we cannot cooperate if we don't develop our transport system, maritime transport, air transport, and we already have some development in certain parts of the Caribbean, so we have to create the legislative conditions for this system of transport to develop itself. And the maritime question, the question of sea and ocean development, which people call now économie bleue, blue economy. We are very much engaged in that in Martinique, and we are hoping to participate and to share what we already know on that matter, our scientific work, our technical work, and to do things together with the rest of the Caribbean, because the sea cannot be a frontier. On the contrary, the sea is a way to get in contact. So this is what we have to do in the next years and decades coming. Thank you.
Yes?
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question now?
Sure,
please?
sure, go ahead.
I'll just wait to move the mics a little. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Curtis Matthew from DBS Radio. And Mr. Prime Minister, we've been following developments really. Election for the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. You made the point that the two heads may have to meet to decide on the final candidate. Who will Grenada support for the position of Secretary General of the Commonwealth?
Oh, Grenada's position has been well known for months. We declared our support for Ronald Sanders a long time ago.
And why is that so, as opposed to the other candidate?
No, well, I wouldn't want to spend time on this because Dominica does have a candidate, and the Prime Minister is going to be discussing with his colleague in Antigua. And that's why when we leave here, we'll have one candidate, and whoever that candidate is, Grenada will be supporting.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Why the silence, if you will, on my name, Matt Peltier, on naming the candidate as we speak?
No, well, I think we agree on the process for naming the candidate. Mm-hmm. If we had the candidate finalized right now, we would tell you. But we've said that there are two candidates right now, and the leaders of the two from countries from which the two candidates come from will, in fact, be meeting soon.
So there was no
by
discussion.
The time we leave,
there was no discussion on who that candidate should be.
I'm sure they would have started discussion, but I'm telling you, by the time we leave here next week, we will be going in Malta with one candidate. The whole region will be supporting one candidate.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important for us to recognize that it's open to any member of the 53-member states of the Commonwealth to field a candidate. In fact, there are 3 candidates now up for the position of Commonwealth Secretary General. And there is still an opportunity for other members of the Commonwealth to also put forward a candidate. We are in a situation where we have two candidates now from the Caribbean region. And it is important going forward to consider which of the candidates are likely to be able to command the majority votes within the Commonwealth. What has been decided is that the two countries from the Caribbean who have candidates will discuss the matter to see whether we can arrive at an agreement moving forward. However, it's something that has to be discussed. You have to look at all the pros and cons and take into account all the different factors, and then we will see going forward whether there can in fact be a consensus from the Caribbean. But of course, as we indicated, it's open to any member of the Commonwealth to field a candidate for the position.
Your mic.
Idona John Baptist, Marpin News. Given the recent terrorist attacks, Dr. Mitchell, does OECS heads consider that there is any growing threat to the Caribbean regarding these recent terrorist attacks?
I think what we see happening is something that every single nation around the world must take notice. And of course, it's when your neighbor house is on fire, you have to watch yours. So clearly, we are ministers of security, and certainly will be working and have been working closely together to confront any possible problems we may have. Hopefully, we'll continue to remain the zone of peace in the world community, and we certainly would have to take every step possible to ensure that we do not have those occurrences. But we did issue in the opening ceremony very strong sympathy and support to our brothers and sisters in France on what has occurred in France at this particular time.
Has any concrete discussions been held with this regard?
We didn't have, that was not an item on the agenda, but there were discussion on the fringe of our meeting.
Another question, if Matt Peltier again, this time to Mr. Timothy Harris, and I suspect you may want to jump in as well because I heard you comment. The issue of LIAT, a very serious one for the Caribbean region. Clearly, both you and Mr. Harris spoke to the issue. Was any concrete decisions taken on a way forward to deal with this LIAT issue in the Caribbean?
Well, LIAT issue would require a broader forum than the OECS. Certainly it would involve the stakeholders, all of whom are not part of the OECS framework, and certainly that would be a discussion we would want to have an input even at the CARICOM level. I think what we have done was to signal where our citizens and residents are vis-a-vis the continuing inability of LIAT to show the kinds of improvements that we would like to see. And the major challenge to the integration process of having an unreliable air transport available to us, and yes, deficiency even in relation to transportation by sea on cargo, etc. So what we have done is to signal we have two stakeholder governments at least, maybe three, within the OECS. There are other stakeholder government beyond. and we are hoping that at some point in time, through the discussions that are taking place both within the OECS, within CARICOM, and perhaps wider afield, we could certainly move the agenda towards some satisfactory arrangements.
But it appears, though, that this issue has been on the table for a number of years, decades. Are we really serious as a region to deal with this travel issues that we're having with this regional airline?
I think it remains on the agenda because we are serious, and many of the discussions we are having, we are not going to get the responses and solutions to them overnight. Certainly, you have to engage in careful considerations of many of the challenges. We have been talking, for example, the talk of integration for a very long time. And that is a talk that must continue as things evolve themselves. So I don't want the length of time to be taken as diminishing of an interest in this particular topic. In fact, it says that the issue continues to be alive. We have not been able to find the appropriate solution, but to continuing conversations, like with all big and difficult issues, we certainly hope to get there.
I'm just going to ask one final question on this very subject. The issue of taxation for the airline. I know one minister touched on it briefly. Can we just harmonize this like yesterday? I mean, this is one issue that you can deal with almost immediately among the OECS leaders.
I believe that, again, taking the cue from what was said in the opening statement, that we are open to do all that we reasonably can do to give confidence to the people within the region and beyond the region in the reliability of air transportation to and from our destinations. And so we haven't taken that off the table as an idea. It's something which, of course, has to be studied within our various jurisdictions. An argument has been made about reducing that and what that can do to the totality of revenues, etc. But it is an issue which requires consideration. And so I did not envisage that during this meeting we'd have had enough information with which to make an informed discussions. Hence, we will have to continue this conversation.
In addition, let's face it, the question of taxation is not just about the OECS. You have other countries in the region which air travel and the cost of tickets based on the taxes at every jurisdiction. So it has to be a regional issue, a CARICOM issue, not just an OECS one. So even if we reduce ours in the OECS and the taxes remain high in Barbados, Trinidad, or whatever kind of countries, we still have a problem. So it has to be a uniform thing.
Lesroy Williams, Government Information Service in St. Kitts. I had hoped that on the agenda, and I know you can't have everything on an agenda for 2 days, ECTEL, the regulatory body of the telecom sector in the OECS, some of the challenges that ECTEL presently faces with the merger between Cable and Wireless and Columbus Communications to form Flow. It is said that there will be some impact, that prices will increase, especially for broadband services and so on. How does the OECS, through ECTEL, plan to deal with this matter?
Well, in fact, DG can wish to comment if he wishes, but I'll just say this. We did have, in fact, very extensive discussion on that very, very important issue. The chairman of ECTEL, the Attorney General of St. Kitts, was here, and he presented some views on the issue. And of course, we decided on a way forward in going forward to this. I don't know if the DG wants to make any specific comments.
Just to add, Chairman, that one of the decisions was that the heads would be kept more informed in real time of developments in that sector, because it is very critical to our economic possibilities and potential, and that the strengthening of ECTEL in terms of its monitoring and its regulatory capacity is a matter of the greatest urgency.
Colleagues, thank you very much. I think we spent much longer than we intended to. We thank you for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you.